Hey guys, Sinnoh Pokemon here. In today's video, we are deciding what is the best Sinnoh shiny. Now, of course, Sinnoh Tour is right around the corner. We're about a month and a half away at this point, and we have a lot of shinies to go through. And there's some great shinies, and there's some bad ones. I'm talking to you, Garchomp. I'm sorry. I'm talking to you directly. Bad shiny. But yeah, we got some amazing shinies. We're gonna find out what is the best Sinnoh shiny. We're just gonna rate all of them on a tier list. Now we have a bunch of shinies to go through. So let's get started with the starters, right? We always start with the starters. And Turtwig, you know what? I think it's fair to say Turtwig is straight S tier. I think both Grotto and Torterra. You know what? We're going to move down to A tier. We're going to save the S tier for the special mons. But it is an amazing shiny Turtwig. I think it's the best shiny starter of the trio. I think Grotto and Torterra are a little bit worse. Honestly, I think I would actually do this, where it goes Turtwig, Grotto, Torterra, C tier. But I really like shiny Turtwig. I wish Torterra kept those colors. I know that Grotto kind of keeps those colors, but honestly, all of these are really good shinies. Like, you know, as a starter line, it starts off hot and then goes down a little bit. Not really good shinies. I don't think Torterra's in a really good shiny. It's a good shiny. That's why it's in the C tier, you know. But I think Turtwig is definitely A tier. I think that's very fair. And I think Chimchar is also A tier. I think this is a really good shiny. I do think Turtwig's a little bit better, but I do like the pink Chimchar. It looks really good. And the whole line keeps the same color, so the whole line, I think, deserves to be an A tier. Now, as a line, I think the Chimchar shiny line is better, but as a singular shiny, I think Turtwig is better. I'm going to be honest. I think Turtwig is the best. When I played through these games, I did pick Chimchar. Love that thing. It's very cute. So, I mean, look, honestly, it was tough to say that Turtwig is better than Chimchar in shiny-wise, but, I mean, I just can't lie. But then we move on to Piplup, and I think both Piplup and Empoleon deserve B tier, but I think Primplup kind of gets that Torterra love, where I think it's just not as good as the other two. I do like Empoleon, I do like Piplup as shinies. I think Primplup as a Pokemon, maybe, I'm like a little bit biased as I get a hair in my eye. A little bit biased in terms of I don't like it as a Pokemon, so maybe that's why I'm not liking it as a, you know, a thing anyways. But we do take, you know, into consideration that, you know, it is a middle stage, so it's not going to look as good, but I still think it's C tier. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. But we move on to Starly, and I think Starly and Staravia are C tier, but I think Staraptor with a little blue hair coming down is B tier. I do like Staraptor the most out of this line, but it's a pretty good line. It's an iconic line of Pokemon. Decent shinies, not amazing shinies, so I think C and B tier is accurate for these ones. Yeah, I think I'm fine with that. So far we have, you know, the exact same number in A, B, and C tier, but we move on to Bidoof, and this is going into B tier. I love Bidoof as a Pokemon. It's an awesome meme. I love the meme aspect about it, but I do think that Bidoof is a B tier shiny. It's a good shiny, not a great shiny, I think is what I would say. So I think that's fair, and I think I'll put Babero in C tier. I think that's very fair. A decent shiny, but not as good as Bidoof. I think just because I love Bidoof so much, I just don't want to evolve it to Babero, right? So I think it's fair to put that in C, Bidoof in B, but here's a shiny they snapped with that they didn't have to. Both of these are going A tier for me. The Gold Kricketot and Kricketune, I mean, both of these are good shinies. Really good shinies. They popped off with this one for no reason, because they're both absolutely useless, but they're just, you know, I mean, Kricketune in its own right is iconic in a way, but, I mean, look, both of them, great shinies. I like the golden on it, so I definitely will, you know, pick up a couple at Sinnoh Tour. That'd be nice. But we move on to Shinx, and I think this is a tough one, because I want to put it S tier. But it's an A tier shiny for the whole line. I think the whole line looks really good, but it's just tough for me to say S tier. I want to keep the S tier for like the top of the top, but oh, that's tough. I want to put it S tier. We might come back to that. I so badly want to put it S tier, but before we do that, let's put Badoo in D tier. I'm sorry, Badoo. I know it's a little like bib thing, turns purple, but I'm not really a fan. I'll be honest, I'm not really a fan. It's an alright shiny. I'm not too fussed with it. I think it's alright. Nothing too crazy, but Roserade definitely is a lot better. I think Roserade's B tier. It's not quite on that A tier level, I think, but it's definitely, I think, even with some of these mons here, like Staraptor and stuff. So I think it's a good shiny, not an amazing shiny. I think B tier kind of fits it perfectly. But then we move on to our first S tier shiny of the rankings, and we got two of them, Cranidos and Rampardos. Both of these shinies are absolute bangers. Both of these are really, really fire shinies. I love Cranidos so much as a Pokemon and so much as a shiny. This Pokemon is one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. So its shiny is also one of my favorites of all time. It's in my top 25 easily. So very, very happy with this one. I mean, it's immediately S tier for me. I mean, I just told you guys it's in my top 25 shinies. So there's no way I'm not putting it S tier. I think it's a really, really good one. But I think because it's so good, we kind of forget how good Shieldon is. I think Shieldon and Bastion are both A tier shinies. I do really like these. The bright yellow with the blue is actually a good mix. So I actually really like these shinies. I think that that they get a little bit less love because of how good Cranidos is, but they're also really good shinies. But then we move on to some not so good shinies. Burmy, all D tier, I'm sorry. And same with Wormadam. All of you could go with the D tier as well. Just not really exciting shinies. But then you get a male shiny Burmy, and you're like, let me evolve this. It's probably going to be disappointing. Nope, you get an S tier shiny. Mothim is definitely an S tier shiny. That yellow and blue mix is so good. I love that mix. We're going to talk about Drifloon in a little bit. It's got a similar mix to it. It's just so good, so iconic. Definitely deserves to be an S tier. I think, you know, I'm setting the bar high for S tier, and I think these three have definitely represented my S tier so far with, you know, flying colors. They're amazing so far. But then we move on to Combi, and I think these are both, and Vespiquen are both middle of the pack shinies. I think B tier is a fair place to put shiny Combi. I think it's a good, not great shiny. Right middle of the pack, I do like the color, but it's alright. If you get the female one, it's even better because that's the rare one. You know, you get to evolve it into Vespiquen, so hopefully you guys all get that during Sinnoh Tour. But yeah, very, very good shiny. Then we move on to Pachirisu, and this one, initially I was going to put it B tier. I'm going to put this thing A tier. I love pink shinies. Pink Heracross. Pink, pink is iconic as a shiny color, right? I think it looks really, really good on Pachirisu. It's a nice, just cute little Pika clone shiny. And I think it's A tier. And I can't wait to hatch this thing out of eggs. Maybe that's why I'm putting it a little bit higher. But I can't wait to hatch this, Carnivine, and Chatot. Three pretty good shinies, but definitely this one's the best of the three. I want to see as many Pachirisus as possible. So definitely we'll be hunting this one, hopefully finding this one at least once or twice, maybe a Shundo, who knows. But then we move on to Buizel. And this one, look, I know Shinx I put in A, but I gotta put Buizel in S tier. I love Buizel so much. This shiny is so good. I love it so much. It's one of my favorites. Buizel as a Pokemon, when I played through Sinnoh for the first time, by the way, I don't know if I told you guys this, Sinnoh was my first game. And I, unfortunately, First game I completed. I played a little bit of the earlier games, but I was so young I never completed them. This was my first game when I really started to know what like Pokemon was, right? So this is just a Pokemon that was on my team Floatzel all the way through, and I loved it so much. So I think maybe there's a little bit of a nostalgia hitting there, but I do really, really like this shiny. And yeah, so we move on to Cherubi. And I think Cherubi is at best C tier. Nah, you know what? We gotta put it D tier. We gotta be a little bit harsh. Cherim, easily D tier. But this one, honestly, I forgot. Cherim, the Sunlight form, I forgot what this one's called. But this one's actually decent. It's a little bit decent. I'll put it C tier. It's a little bit better than Cherubi and Cherim. Cherim is just immediate D tier. That thing hardly changes. One of the worst shinies of all time. And yeah, it just doesn't change that much. I don't think it's that good if I'm being completely honest. But then we move on to Shellos. And honestly, I'm going to put Gastrodon. I'm going to put Gastrodon D tier. I think both Gastrodons just aren't that great of shinies. But in terms of Shellos, I honestly think both of them deserves C tier. I can make an argument for both of them even to be in B tier. But I think they're good, but not great by any means. They're not really the most, like, I don't know. They're not the shiny that pops the most. They're good shinies, but not amazing. I think they're good. And I think C tier is accurate for them. I think that's fair. But then we move on to Ambipom. And Ambipom has a pretty good shiny. I think middle of the pack is fair. It does pop. Like, the pink does definitely pop. I don't think it's as good as Pachirisu pink-wise or Chimchar pink-wise, so that's why I'm putting it into the B tier. I do like Apom shiny as well, but I think it's right in the middle of the pack. I think that's fair. But then we move on to 2 S tier shinies right away. And as you guys can see, I like the golden shinies. I won't lie to you guys. 5 of them are in S tier right now, but Drifloon, you cannot make an argument to me that would make sense to put it anywhere other than S tier. This is one of the best shinies of all time. Drifloon, and I only allow one of the line in my quote-unquote top 10. This one is like scraping the top 10. It's 10 to 15 probably, but it is such a good shiny, such an iconic Pokemon. It's got a very scary Pokedex entry, but I do love this shiny a lot. Then we move on to Baneri. And I think Baneri is a similar situation in Lopunny to Apom. I like the pink, but I don't think it's as good as Pachirisu's pink. I really like Pachirisu's pink and Chimchar's pink. I think it's good, not great. I think B tier right in the middle is where it belongs. And maybe Pachirisu belongs there too, but my bias is going to let it stay in A for now. But then we move on to Miss Drevius. Sorry, not Miss Drevius, Miss Magia, sorry. Miss Drevius' evolution, and I think B tier is also accurate for it. It's got like an up and down color. Like, this color kind of is like a quote-unquote vomit color, and not a lot of people are fans of that, so I think it's fair to put it right in the middle. I kind of like it. I like how it's different, but I can understand why you wouldn't like it, so I think being right in the middle, it makes it, I think it makes sense. It could be even C tier. I might be being a little bit nice to it, but it is what it is. So then we move on to Honchkrow, and this is tough because this purple does pop, and I think it deserves to be in the A tier. I think it pops a lot more than Baneri, than Ambipom, than Lopunny. It just pops. Murkrow, Perkrow is very, very good. I think it's fair to put Honchkrow A tier, sorry. I think it's very, very nice. It might be a little bit controversial to put it there, but that's fine. Then we move on to Glameow, and I think Glameow is actually also a B shiny, but I think Purugly is C tier. Purugly, the colors fade out a little bit more, and I don't like that. Glameow just goes straight purple, and I do like it. It could possibly be C tier, but I think it's fair to put it with B. I think it's on par with Baneri. Then we move on to Chingling, and I think this is a C tier, D tier shiny, sorry. D tier shiny. I think it could change a lot more. Imagine if it was just a silver bell. That would be awesome. I mean, that right there alone would make me put it like A, S tier, So I think that change is necessary, but it is what it is. It's Chingling. It's all right. Then we move on to Stunky, and I think Stunky deserves an A tier. This is one of the new shinies coming during Sinnoh Tour, and I actually really, really like this shiny. It's a really, really good, like, pinkish, reddish color, and I actually really, really am a fan of it. So I'm putting it A tier. I think it's a really good shiny. Can't wait to shiny hunt it at LA/Global. Then we go into Bronzor. I think green on it looks fine. I think Bronzong's actually a little bit worse, to be honest. A lot more faded out. I'm gonna put that C tier. I think Bronzor, honestly, it's tough. I like it. It's all right. I have tons of them in Pokemon Go. I say B tier is fine. B tier is fine. Then we move on to Bonsly, and honestly, I think it's an A tier shiny. I think this one's actually really, really good. It just like has such a different color palette, and it goes bright, like red on its head. I like it. Okay. Then we move on to Mr. Mime Jr. Sorry. And honestly, I think it's, look, in terms of rarity, like, it's pretty rare, but in terms of like an actual shiny, I think it's BC. You know what? I'm gonna move Bronzor down to C tier. I'm sorry, Bronzor, because I feel like it and Mr. Mime Jr. are equal, and I don't feel like I'm comfortable separating them. But then we move on to Happiny. I'm going to put it D tier. I don't think it's really that good of a shiny. Definitely one of the worst baby shinies, so it is what it is. It's not that great. I think it's mediocre at best, so I'm going to put it D tier. But then we got Chatot, and this one's an average shiny. I'm putting it right into the C tier. This is one of the ones that's hatching out of the eggs, so it's cool. I'll be ready to hatch it. It's a regional. I'm excited to hatch it, and it should be a lot of fun, and we got some banger shinies coming up. I'm just looking at the list. And immediate S tier is Spiritomb. Spiritomb is one of the best shinies in Sinnoh for sure. And again, we're going to be picking one shiny that is the best shiny in all of Sinnoh at the end, so stay tuned for that. But this one is really, really good. It's kind of tough to say anything other than S tier for this one, honestly. I don't want to hear it. It's S tier, okay? And so is Gible. Gible is S tier. They messed up not letting Garchomp be Gible's colors. The colors on Gible are incredible. I love this shiny so much. The yellow, the blue, it's awesome. and then you downgrade to B tier for Gabite, and then you downgrade to C tier for Garchomp. I think it doesn't deserve D, but its potential makes you want to put it in D because it could have been S tier with those Gibble colors, honestly. But still, this whole line is pretty good shiny. It's got S, B, and then C. Then we move on to Munchlax. I think it's a C tier shiny as well. Not, you know what, B tier. I like the blue. It pops a little bit. Could they have made it like, I don't know. What's a good color? Would have been crazy for gold. Just give me a gold Snorlax. I don't know. But, yeah, good shiny, maybe not amazing. And then you go to amazing shiny. S tier, right away. Riolu and Lucario are easily S tier shinies. And we have kind of like even shinies across the board right now, which is kind of interesting. Sorry. But I will say Sinnoh shinies like are really, really good as a whole. I think we have some really, really good shinies. And as I say that Hippopotas comes up, I think this whole line is just C tier. I don't think they're, you know, harsh. I don't think I can be harsh enough to put them in the Cherim levels and stuff, but definitely a C tier shiny, unfortunately, for the whole line. Lucario, though, just to touch up on it, S tier easily. Might be the best shiny in the whole region, so we'll talk about that later. But they definitely killed it with the golden shinies in this region. But then we move on to Skorupi. Skorupi is an easy S tier for me. Drapion, though, is B tier. Drapion's middle of the pack, but Skorupi is S tier. Skorupi just looks so good. That red, oh, it's so good. Iconic. And I think the same thing for Krogunk. I like both Krogunk and Toxicroak being an S tier. I think it's very, very fair. There's a lot of banger shinies in Sinnoh, and I think these are part of that. I think they're both amazing shinies. Anything turquoise is just gonna be so good. And then we move into Carnivine. And I think Carnivine's B tier. It's kind of got that like fall vibe to it, in my opinion. And I do like it. It's a good shiny, not a great shiny. I think middle of the pack makes sense for it. And these eggs are going to have Pachirisu, Carnivine, and Chatot. I want all three, but my main priority is Pachirisu and then Carnivine. But then we move on to Finneon. And Finneon is a good shiny. It's brown. It's all right. I think it's B tier. I think both it and Lumineon deserve to be in the same tier and B tier. They're middle of the pack shinies. Nothing too special, but still pretty good. And I actually think Mantike is actually pretty cute. I like Mantike. It's a B tier shiny for me. I've hatched a couple. Its rarity might add to it for some people, but I think it's a B tier shiny. I think it's fair to put it in B. Then we move on to the blue hand Snover and Abomasnow. I think they're both. I think Abomasnow, I'm going to put Snover C, Abomasnow B. I think Snover's alright. It's just such a little change, just the hands. But Abomasnow, although it's just the hands and feet, it's just such like a big change on a bigger Pokemon. I think it looks better. I'm going to put it in B tier and put Snover in C tier. And then Weavile, I'm going to say A tier for Weavile. I kind of wanted to put it S tier, but I think A tier is very, very fair for it. It's a really good shiny. I like the pink. I like the yellow. They, mix with each other very, very well. And we still have a lot of shinies to go through, especially legendaries. So, stay tuned. Then we got Magnezone. C tier. I don't think it's D tier quite. It's close. It's very, very close, but I think it's C tier. I think that's fair to put it there. And I think Licky is going to go the same for me. I think B tier almost, but I think it's an alright shiny. The yellow looks pretty good. And I think it's alright, but a yellow that I think is better is Rhyperior. I think Rhyperior is a B tier shiny. It's just a little bit better than Licky, or Licky, sorry. So I think Rhyperior is a little bit better, so I would put Rhyperior in B tier and keep Licky in C tier. Then we move on to Tangrowth, and this is an A tier shiny. I really, really like Tangela. I really, really like Tangrowth shiny. I think they're both really, really good. The green spaghetti. I mean, it just looks good. Somebody touch on my spaghetti. And yeah, it looks good. It looks really, really good. Then we move on to Electivire. I think Electivire, unfortunately, it's borderline B. Sorry, it's borderline B. I'm going to put it top of C tier, and I'm going to put Magmortar here in B tier. I think I kind of want to put Magmortar in A tier, but it's very, very close. It's like on the verge. It's top of B tier, sorry. And Electivire is top of C tier, on the verge of B tier. I think the colors, if you just made it full blue, would have been insane. But I think it should have kept Electabuzz's colors. I think it would have looked nicer, in my opinion. But then we move on to Togekiss. This one is just a notoriously not so great shiny. I think I gotta even put it D tier, unfortunately. It's not so great. It's all right. It's at the best. Yeah, that's all I gotta say about it. But then we move on to Yamega. This is S tier shiny. This is S tier shiny material. I really, really like this shiny. Yanma is a great shiny, and it got even better as it evolved. So, I mean, it is definitely S tier. This thing is one of my favorite Pokemon. When I first played, this thing was just absolutely crazy. I thought it was the coolest Pokemon ever, so I'll be honest. But then we move on to Leafeon and Glaceon. Leafeon is definitely one of those D tier shinies. I'm sorry, it's just not that great of a shiny. And Glaceon's a little bit better. The dark blue accents are nice. But it's a C tier. You know, it's not anything better than not that much better than Leafeon. I think Leafeon is just a bad shiny in general, so it is what it is. But then we move on to Gliscor, and I think Gliscor is an A tier shiny. I think Gliscor is pretty good. I like its like Batman vibes. Just as a Pokemon, but as a shiny, it's pretty nice. I like the blue. I like the yellow. I think it is pretty nice. And then we move on to Mamoswine. And Mamoswine, I think, is middle of the pack, B tier. I think Piloswine is low-key an A tier shiny as itself. But when it comes to Mamoswine, as a Pokemon, it's S tier. As a shiny, it's B tier. I think it could be better. It could be worse. But I think Sick Mamoswine will go right in the middle at B tier. But then we go to Porygon. That's a tough decision. Porygon, I think, goes A tier. I think the blue and pink combo on any shiny looks really, really nice. And I think Gallade is going to join it there in A tier as well. I think Gallade is also another really good blue shiny. I think both it and Porygon are really, really nice. And yeah, I like the blue on them a lot. So I think they're A tier, not quite S. And I think Probopass. Ooh, I think Probopass deserves to be there too. I mean, golden shinies they just hit. They just hit differently. I think Probopass is borderline B, if not A. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments down below. But it's a really good shiny. The gold looks really, really good. And Dusknoir, it's one of those that doesn't change a lot. I'm going to put it in D tier. It's borderline C, but it's really just deserves to be in D. And I think the same for Frostlass. It's just really the side piece thingy that changes. So, yeah. We're coming up on legendaries, though, and stuff now. We got Rotom first, though. We have all Rotom forms, and I think they all are. Let's put them all in A. Let's put them all in A for now. It might be S. Ooh, it might be S. It might be X. Oh, are they S? I'm going to put them A for now. They might be S tier. Really, really good shinies. Going to keep them in A for now, though. In terms of these, the Lake Trio, I think Uxie is A, and then I think the other two are B. I really, really like the gold on gold for Uxie, so that's why I'm putting it A tier. But I think Azelf and Mesprit are both B. I think they're middle of the pack shinies. They're good, not great. But then we move on to great, and we got Dialga. That thing is S tier immediately. I love Dialga. I played Pokemon Diamond as my first ever game, so Dialga has a special place in my heart, and it's a great shiny. So that's that. And then Palkia's B tier. It's a shiny that if you really blink twice, sometimes you just won't notice it. So it's a little bit disappointing. I wish they did a little bit more to it, but it's a decent shiny, not amazing. Heatran is kind of one of those things where the purple eyes is the only real big difference, and I think it's a C tier shiny. I don't think it's amazing. It definitely could be a lot better, so I think it's fair to put it there. Then we move on to Regigigas, and Regigigas I think is an A tier shiny. I might move it up to S tier, but it's a pretty good shiny. That blue/purple looks really, really good on it, and yeah, it's on the verge. It's definitely better than a lot of the other Regis. But then we move on to one of my favorite Pokemon of all time, Giratina, and that is the easiest S tier shiny of all time. It's the easiest one of all time. The blue, oh, it just looks so, so good as a shiny. I can't even lie to you guys. So that's immediate S tier. In terms of Cresselia goes, I want to put it A tier, honestly. I want to put it A tier. I'm going to put it A tier. I'll be nice. I'll put it A tier. But then for Darkrai, you guys know my favorite Pokemon. That's S tier. That's S tier right away. Darkrai is my favorite Pokemon, and it does have a really good shiny as well. I think it's better than Cresselia. I think it's better than Regigigas. I think it does purple better than Regigigas. I think that's why I put Regigigas A tier. But then Manaphy and Fiona, I believe don't really change that much. I'm going to put them both D tier, though. Sorry, it is what it is. Life just spins that way sometimes. Then we move on to Shaman. Shaman and Arceus. I'm going to put them all in A because I'm going to move them around from A. But these are the last three Pokemon. And honestly, Arceus is S tier. I mean, it's just the god of all Pokemon, but also it's a great shiny. Look, the god of all Pokemon couldn't not bless itself. It's a golden shiny. It looks really, really good. And I think Shaman also deserves to be there. I think Shaman has a really, really good turquoise blue shiny. And I think it's fair to be there in S tier. And I think that's a good amount of Pokemon to have in S tier. I mean, look, we got what? 22 Pokemon in S tier. That's a decent amount, but I mean, look, there's a lot of Pokemon here, and not a lot of D tier, honestly. Not a lot of D tier, a lot of SA and B tiers. I mean, look, honestly, it's crazy. I think there's the most out of any of them are A tier, which is awesome. But I don't think I'm gonna move anything. But we gotta pick out of the S tier shinies, what is the best shiny in the whole region? And it's tough. I think Drifloon gets an argument. I think Gibble gets an argument. I think Lucario gets an argument. I think even something like Arceus gets an argument. Dialga, Yanmega. But number one is Giratina. Number one shiny is Giratina. I think it's only fair to say Giratina is the best shiny in all of Sinnoh. I know it's just technically the devil, but it's an amazing shiny. So honestly, I think that it's fair. I think that it's fair to go ahead and say that Giratina is the best shiny in all of Sinnoh. But what would you guys say? What would you guys say the best shiny in Sinnoh is? Honestly, it's a tough decision, but I do think that Giratina deserves to be it. But did I put anything in a wrong tier? Did you guys think I put something in S tier that shouldn't be there? Should Shaman be lower? Should Gibble be lower? Should Weasel be lower, you know? Or should something like Turtwig or Regigigas should be S tier? Let me know in the comments down below. And yeah, let me know your opinions. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next video. Peace.